is going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode. All right, so 2018 Prado 150 series, guys. Now you guys got to remember that the Prados, they went through different generations, right? You had the 120 series that was all the way from like 2003 all the way to 2008, and then we got the 150 series that came in 2009 and ran all the way up to 2018. So you guys got to remember that each series generation runs a lot of years, and in those years you get the updates and you get the facelift. So this is the final facelift of the 150 series Prado. So today I am in a 2.7 liter, that is the petrol version. So this is the lowest displacement engine. So, you know, coming to the 150 series Prado, we lost one of Toyota's finest engines. You know, they stopped putting the 1GR FE, so the 4 liter V6. You can't get it in the 2018 Prado. You can just get the D4D, the diesel, or you get the 2.7 liter petrol. So this was the first generation of Prado that really started to suffer from all the emissions regulations and the fact that Toyota had to start making their engines smaller to meet the emissions targets. Now straight away, first things getting in this Prado, I notice I'm sitting really high up, so they haven't changed the seating position. In fact, I need to go a bit lower because I'm quite tall. Headroom is enough, it's sufficient. I remember how my 120 series was, so just like any other Prado, you sit upright, you feel like the vehicle is tall, and you guys know that this vehicle has a shorter wheelbase than the full-size Land Cruiser. Now the 250 series Prado, Toyota ended up actually making the wheelbase the same as the full size. But this was the last generation Prado that was smaller, more nimble, and slightly more luxury focused than what we get with the brand new 250 series. But definitely getting in here, first of all, you can notice that they have done a level of refinement on the 150 series. In this final facelift, you can definitely sense that the vehicle is quite refined, quite smooth on the road, handles the bumps well. But I'll definitely say it is still a Prado. It does still feel like how my 120 series felt, which was just a bit bumpy on the road, you know, just a bit unsettled, you know, just a bit nudgy, and you know, likes to nosedive. So that's kind of the height of the vehicle, and not much you can do with that. But getting in here and, you know, just going over some speed bumps, that they've done decent damping, you know, dampening of the shocks and the suspension, but you can definitely tell that this isn't the ride quality of the full-size Land Cruiser. It's a step down, and so that's why we see that the Prado, though more comfortable, does compete directly with things like the Ford Everest, does even compete with things like the Toyota Fortuner. But the Prado is known to give you just a level of comfort, a sense of heightened comfort, which those other vehicles are not going to give you. But apart from that, 2018 Prado, now this is the TX Spec, so it's pretty basic, but straight away I can sense that the steering wheel is nice and light. It feels good, but it is just plastic vinyl finish, and we get the plastics that just carry on all across the interior. This is just a very plasticky interior, and it's something that the modern vehicles are also having. You know, even the 250 series Prado just has so much plastic on the interior. There's just gone are the days where you get real materials, real wood, real leather. These days you just get what they call wood trim, which means some interior trim that has been made to look like wood. I don't get it. I despise of it. I hate it. But yeah, so coming into the interior, pretty basic. I mean, yes, this was a good facelift for the 150 series. I definitely feel this interior was slightly sharpened and made to look a bit better than when the initial 150 series came out. The first generation 150 series, I really didn't like the interior. It was just really not that good looking, but this is a slight improvement. Now coming up to, you know, the dials, the speedometer, good change, good improvement from like my 120 series, nicely lit up, and a simple OLED, simple display in the middle that gives you your essential information. So, you know, decent. Now coming to the engines, I am in a 2.7 liter, guys, and I can definitely sense, just, you know, kind of climbing a mild hill, I can definitely sense that suddenly I have to press the pedal down. I have to wait for the vehicle to upshift, and then we can get a move on. So definitely this is a vehicle where you can feel the engine, you can feel a bit of those vibrations. Even though they've refined it, it is still a Prado and still a step down from the refinement levels of the full-size Land Cruiser. And straight away, what you can also notice and what you also straight away realize with the Prado 150 series is that the level of noise cancellation is a step down from what you get in the full-size Land Cruiser. So you can hear, even though it's just a 2.7 liter petrol, I can hear the engine, I can hear the transmission shifting, and you know, coming to the transmission, actually it's not bad, but I mean, it shifts smoothly, shifts well, but you can definitely feel when the vehicle is shifting. So good refinement and aspects that come into the 150 series, but still reminds you that you are sitting in a Prado, and so you're gonna feel a bit more of the road, you're gonna be a bit more involved, and you're gonna feel like you're sitting in a tall vehicle. So you don't get that width, and you don't get that kind of feeling that, you know, you got a lot of width and you got a lot of space to play around with. It is definitely smaller. It is definitely smaller in the cabin as well, but it does not compromise on like your headroom and your space. So you will still feel like you're driving a bigger vehicle, but it's definitely more nimble than like my 100 series and, you know, other vehicles of that sort. So sound dampening is not the best. That's one thing I would ding. And then other small aspects that remind you that, you know, the build quality is not as to the level as the full-size Land Cruiser, and that's things like the buttons, the gear in here, the, you know, the indicator. As soon as I indicate, listen to this. Not a good sounding indicator, guys. A bit of a cheap sounding indicator. And so there's several aspects and small aspects of this vehicle that once you touch, get your hands on, once you feel, you notice that the quality is not exactly to the par, but still the quality is better than maybe say like a Fortuner. So, but apart from that, the ride quality is all right. There's nothing I can say is like all crazy or it's really smooth. It feels refined. The sound insulation is decent, but I can hear the engine, but the vehicle does seem bouncy. You can't get away that we are on a solid axle. Now remember, this is still, of course, a body on frame vehicle. This is still a Land Cruiser, so I'm not saying anything in terms of off-road capability. The vehicle is very off-road capable, and it's built tough. It can take a beating, you know. Nothing can replace a solid axle, but we do have independent front suspension in the front. Now remember, with the Prados, you get the TX version, you get the TZ version. TZ is quite nice, a bit more refinement, but air suspension not as reliable. Or you get this with just standard coils, but you do get the top of the range Kakadu version. Remember that. Now if you go for a Kakadu, it's called Kakadu in the UK, you do get KDSS, right? Kinetic Dynamic Suspension System. So I believe if you want the off-road capability, you might want to go for the Kakadu 2018 Prado, because that will allow you to have the disconnecting sway bars in the rear, because that's what kinetic dynamic suspension is. It allows you to electronically or mechanically, depending on the vehicle. Sometimes Toyota does electronic, sometimes they do manual, but KDSS allows you to disconnect the sway bar on the go. So if you're going in like a big rut or a big pothole, the car can just disconnect that sway bar, so the rear wheel can just get so much more travel. And then, you know, just like that, you're set, absolutely set. Because when you get more travel in the rear wheel, that's what we're talking about in terms of off-road capability, right? More flex of the rear wheel, so the rear wheel can actually touch the floor and give you that traction that you seek. Now sitting in the Prado, I can tell you that as soon as you get onto these leather seats, they're decently comfortable, guys, but I must admit that I don't like the way they do leather seats these days. Everything is sporty, and it's like the seats don't have the cushiony feel that the old vehicles used to have. The seats are hard, you know, and maybe you have to wear them in, but anyways, I've never been much a huge fan of Prado seats, and they're alright. You'll be comfortable, but on longer journeys, you might start to feel it. But apart from that, they're decently comfortable. You have decent room in the vehicle, and it's a Prado, you know, so you can bash it, you can kind of go places, you know, treat it a bit roughly, and it'll always get you home. So the basic aspects of the vehicle are there. It is in no question, it is a Land Cruiser. It's tough as nails, and it'll get you everywhere you need to. Now, of course, the diesel versions have got good fuel economy, but this 2.7 liter petrol, I wouldn't expect anything crazy out of it, you know. We might as well say just the usual 6 kilometers a liter, maximum 7 maybe. and a bit higher on the highway. But in the city, I wouldn't expect anything special, you know. Whenever you have a body-on-frame vehicle with a live axle, you should expect the ride quality to be just a bit bumpy, a bit swayy, because we've got that heavy live axle. And that's exactly what I'm getting with the ride quality of this Prado, and maybe you can even notice it in the camera, because right now we are on a highway and we are on a straight road, but still the vehicle is a bit unsettled and it's a bit playful on the road, and that's what you have to expect with the Prado. When you're driving a Prado, make sure your hands are on the steering wheel, make sure you're in control of the vehicle. Don't for 1 second get your eyes off the road, and just make sure you're in control, because these vehicles, they do like to dart around a bit, and if you're not paying attention, it can be pretty dangerous, guys. So apart from that, the vehicle handles decently and you'll be happy. It's got the standard 98 liter or 100 liter tank, so you will get a decent range out of the tank, at least 600 kilometers. With the diesel, you'll probably be able to get 900 kilometers. So, you know, it depends what you want to do, where you want to go. But this 2.7 petrol, it sounds decent. It sounds pretty basic, to be honest, but it handles well, and the refinement is not bad. But I would definitely say still like something like my 100 series handles better. And one more thing, just listen to that reverse sound, guys. Very cheap sounding reverse. Alright guys, so as you can see, you have the big door opening here, the standard barn door that you get with the Prado 150 series, so that's maintained here. But as you can see, you do get this whole raised top, you know, so you can't load your luggage low, and you get this raised top because they put the rear seats inside the vehicle. I don't like this setup. I don't like having to lift luggage so high. You guys can see this is so high off the ground, and so when you've got those heavy bags, this is always an annoying setup. And this door in my 120 series used to be very annoying to keep open, but they have improved it with a shock. So that's a good welcome change, because that means this door can be controlled much better. You've got a nice spoiler with the tail light inside it. A simple change to the classic Prado headlights TX version here. Basic paint, but still a pearl paint. Not the best pearl paint, but decent. Standard door cards, as you guys can see, as I mentioned, and a lot of plastic on the interior, the finishes. So although the dashboard is done in soft plastic, so the sound is not that bad, but the doors are standard, kind of what you get in the 200 series as well. Standard trim with silver lines and silver painting. And of course we get our 265 tires, as is standard with most Prado models. You get a 265 tire on a 17-inch rim and a 265/70, which means good tire depth. As you can see in the front of the vehicle, a good bold grille, so a nice design in terms of the grille, and of course this redesigned facelifted LED headlights, LED fog lamps. So welcome changes in terms of LEDs, and the side mirrors as well, I noticed. Very nice and welcome change. Look at the size of the side mirror. So nice and big side mirrors, reminiscent of the 200 series. So welcome changes to the Prado 150 series in terms of refinement, but the overall look and the overall size was maintained the same as all other generations. It was only when we got to the 250 series, which comes after this vehicle, that Toyota increased the wheelbase. The wheelbase is the distance between the front wheel and the rear wheel, and Prados always had a smaller distance than the full-size Land Cruiser. But Toyota have now switched it up, and now Prados and full-size Land Cruiser have the same wheelbase. Now, of course, quick look when you sit in this vehicle as a driver. I told you the redesigned interior is a nice welcome change. But things like this, you know, you put your elbow and you get these plasticky sounds. You press and you get a bit of plasticky sounds. And that's kind of what you got to get used to with a Prado. But apart from that, at least you get the refinement and decent comfort. At least you get your air condition controls in buttons, all nicely laid out. And you do, of course, have your 4 low and 4 high because this vehicle is a full-time four-wheel drive. So you guys have got to remember that this is how Prados differ from Fortuners. You know, some of you think, let me just get a Fortuner. How does it differ from a Prado? They do differ, because a Prado is a full-time four-wheel drive and Fortuners can be two-wheel drive at times. But Prado is a true Land Cruiser, full-time four-wheel drive. Of course, it's got a live axle, independent front suspension, and it is more comfortable than vehicles like a Fortuner. Just want to show you the startup of the vehicle now. So it is engine stop start. So they had moved to like what you get in the 200 series. You have a key. This is the key, and with the key, pretty decent actually, at least it says Land Cruiser, so nicely redesigned key. But as long as you've got the key, you depress the brake pedal and you hit engine start. All right, and the vehicle starts right up. You can see the vehicle is shown in the LED panel. So nice small welcome changes, decently laid out speedometer, and nice ice cold blowing AC straight away. Now, as you can see in the front, I wanted to show you guys this ridge that they've made in the hood. A lot of people don't understand why there's a ridge in the hood. It wasn't just for fun. Toyota weren't just losing the plot. That ridge is because the car is quite muscular at the front, so that ridge helps you see the road when you're going in ruts and stuff, in case there's like a big hole in the front or something. But anyways, let's get right into my final thoughts. Now, on acceleration, I must mention that the Prado is just a bit lethargic. You hit the pedal, not much happens. If the car needs to downshift, then it decides to downshift, then it gives you power. So the 2.7 liter petrol, nothing special, doesn't sound particularly great, and a bit lethargic. You know, not much happens when you put your foot down, and then stuff starts to happen when the vehicle kind of gets a move on. Now at highway speeds it handles pretty well, but I am noticing still that, you know, kind of bouncing around just slightly on the road and not just well settled, and that's because of the height of the vehicle. But otherwise it does pick up speed well still for a heavy vehicle of this size. The 2.7 liter still pulls the weight of the vehicle pretty well. It's just that you just have to deal with that body roll when you're going on these type of corners, because the vehicle does sway entirely. So if you're in the market for a Prado 150 series, guys, should you go for it, and which one should you get? Well, I would say, while the TX versions are always nice, I just find the TX versions to be way too basic. What I would suggest, guys, is to go, if you want to go for a Prado, I would suggest to go. The TZ versions will give you a bit more of that comfort and that refinement, and you'll just enjoy the luxuries a bit better. But certainly, the fact is that these vehicles are still so expensive. If I were to go for a Prado, in the Kenyan market, this 2018 Prado might be going for about 7-8 million shillings, guys. It's way too expensive. So I would always say that I would just go for a used 100 series or even a used 200 series, you know. But I'd always say that the Prado is a great Land Cruiser to start out of, and it's the first Land Cruiser that I got into that really got me into Land Cruiser. So I'll always have a soft spot for the Prado, and I'll always say that if you want to get into Land Cruisers and if you can afford it, definitely a Prado is a great choice, especially for you and your family. It is a spacious choice, a spacious vehicle, and it'll definitely get you anywhere you need to and back. Yes, you'll have to be a bit more involved in the drive, and yes, it's not like LX quality, ride quality, or 200 series ride quality, but it's certainly not going to disappoint you. Slightly more bumpy, but at least you know you've got a very rugged off-roader, and that's what the Prado name carries. And now you know at least that the Prado went into the 250 series, which became even more like the full-size Land Cruiser. So the Prado nameplate carries respect, carries weight, and these vehicles have been all over the world, you know. Owners have taken them all over the place, and they just do very well. So I would never advise you against a Prado. And this 2018 certainly came with nice refinements compared to the previous generation, especially if we're talking about like a 2009 150 series Prado, which was quite basic. This 2018 does have nice upgrades, including the LED taillights and the way that the LED headlights kind of elope around the body and highlight the edges and kind of just make the Prado look a bit more muscular. I do like the look, and I do like it. I just don't like the plasticky nature of things, and I just wish that Toyota would come back to using fantastic materials in their vehicles, in all their vehicles, not just if it's a luxury vehicle. You know, I would love to come back to the day, like back in the day, when such nice material choices were used and we didn't have all these regulations and issues. But anyways, a Prado will get you around all day, every day. You'll enjoy it. It'll give you good spaciousness. The visibility will be just like a full-size Land Cruiser. Big windows, big windscreen, no sunroof in certain models, but this TX version even has a sunroof, so you can really enjoy, you know, there's no stress. So it is decently equipped. Can't say this car is badly equipped. It's nicely equipped, and just at the price tag, you know, if you're going for something of 7-8 million shillings, which is about $50,000, I'd always go for a used option versus something like this, which is it's a used vehicle, 80,000 kilometers. I'd just always be gravitating towards like a used 200 series versus like a 2010 or a 2011 or a 2014 used 200 series versus a 2018 Prado. I'd always be going for the 200 series. But the Prado has its place and a lot of people really love it. So if you're into the Prado, yeah, absolutely go for it. If you got the money for it, go for it. But I definitely say that the nameplate of the 200 and the 300, they have my heart more, and I do gravitate towards those. But this is still a perfectly usable vehicle, and definitely on off-road conditions, this vehicle is fantastic as well. You know, especially if you get, as I mentioned, that Kakadu version, the top spec, in which you also get the KDSS suspension, then you'll be able to go far and wide. But anyways, those are my thoughts, my wrap up on the 2.7 liter petrol 2018 Prado TX Spec. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit like, subscribe, comment down below if you're enjoying my videos. I really appreciate all of you who are watching, joining the Masai Gains channel. And yeah, welcome on board. Lots and lots more content coming up in sunny Nairobi. This is of course just my enjoyment and my love for vehicles and my love for filming as well. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's been Masai Gains checking out.